Hello and welcome to the Team Meta College Conference Spring Showdown. Orange corner as red. Oh my goodness, watching it as it
being like a void space for community building.
Now you can see these freshmen and sophomores that have not had that interaction at all. They're completely online because of COVID.
He said, oh my gosh, Osaka!
Welcome back to another episode of Age of Coronavirus, College Edition. I'm your host, Chase Kurtz, and we have another Chase on the show. I hope I don't have to kill you, Chase. This is actually Chase Nuclear Nukem. Not to be confused with Chase Nuclear Kurtz. Chase is actually the director of Esports at St. Ambrose University, located in Davenport, Iowa. Tell us more about how you got into this role as director of Esports, Chase.
That's a good question. So I'm hashtag mid-best, born and raised in Indiana, and born and raised in Indiana, and I moved out to Iowa after graduating college. Basically, a lot of people get into esports in a lot of different ways. I was actually told, living in a small Midwestern town, that it wasn't going to happen. Like, there was no way I was going to grow up and coach people playing games.
How dare they?
Yeah, stick to your pickup trucks and hanging outside the bank, which is what they did a lot. But yeah, so I went to Ball State University and I started Cardinal Esports there. And we're now fortunate enough, Cardinal Esports actually just got varsity status this past semester. So I was able to lay the groundwork over there and really start an organization for esports at Ball State. And then I accepted a job offer here in Iowa as the director of Paradigm, which was a virtual reality and esports center.
Oh, wow.
So I basically came out here expecting to just run that, and then I get out here and the CEO goes, here's $400,000. I have 3 other companies in China. You have 3 months to build this. Good luck. And then he left. And I was like, with like all this money, because I just graduated college. I was like, oh my God, I've never been given this much money in my life. So we started Paradigm. I ran 3 tournaments a week for a year straight. So I ran over 150 esports events in 2019 and ran a lot of really awesome events in the Smash Brothers community and the Fortnite community, in Battle Royale as a whole community, Overwatch, etc. And so from there, I was working 70, 80 hours a week to do this. And I decided, this isn't for me. I need to have my own time off, my own life. So I decided to get into collegiate esports and transition into that area. So that's kind of how I got involved with St. Ambrose in that process, because I did fall in love with the Quad Cities, which is the area I moved out to here in Iowa. We're right on the border of Illinois and Iowa on the Mississippi River. So it's a really, really nice area. I enjoyed it a lot, and I wanted to stay out here. So I decided to transition over to St. Ambrose, and the rest is history.
Yeah, it's a very pretty area. A little flat, but very pretty. Mm-hmm. And the campus too. I really like the design of the campus at St. Ambrose.
It's a beautiful campus. It really is.
How did you develop your leadership skills? Do you have to become a jack of all trades to kind of get into this sort of position?
You really don't. And that's the thing about collegiate esports right now is you can come from a lot of different backgrounds. Now, the biggest advice that I always give to new coaches is to be hungry to learn. You shouldn't just expect you have the answers. Just know, like, I know how to build an arena, even though I've never built an arena before. I always recommend for coaches to seek more information and really just get themselves out there. But no, I'm a jack of all trades just because that's how I got involved in the space, was being a jack of all trades. But it's not necessarily, a requirement. Everyone has their own kind of focus, what they come into. Some coaches are previous players. Some coaches come from traditional sports. Other coaches come from more of a business background. And it varies right now in the collegiate space.
Well, tell us more of your backstory and where you developed these skills.
Sure. So I developed my leadership skills. I would say a hefty majority of them just growing up the way I did. Kind of had, I guess, a bit of an unfortunate upbringing. My mother, unfortunately, my father was part of the drug pandemic in Indiana, so he really wasn't around a lot of my high school. And my mom actually developed breast cancer
Oh
right
no.
after her and my father got divorced. So when I was a sophomore in high school, I had two younger sisters and I was taking care of them and my mom.
Mm,
And so I had to grow up kind of early in
very
that
fast.
regard. Yeah, I had to work two part-time jobs, make sure that my family was doing all right. And it was after that, we finally got my mom got a little bit better. Everything was looking up, and then we were homeless for about a
Mm.
year after my dad had kicked us out of the house and then basically locked the house up right before he had left. So there was a lot of just troubling things that happened in high school that really made me kind of shape up and go, my family needs me. I got to hunker down and get this stuff taken care of. So that's really where it rooted and started. Because I think leadership is really just an intent of change, right? And
Hmm.
it's a multi-directional intent of change. You get multiple people on board to intend, an adaptive transition. So that's really where I started to learn that. But I would attribute a lot of my leadership skills and owning and really crafting them to my time at Ball State. I was an orientation leader at Ball State, so I had to work with a lot of incoming freshmen, a lot of incoming students that didn't know what they wanted to do with college and kind of show them that first year path to get them on track. On top of that, I was also a resident assistant in college, and that really taught me and showed me how to take my big brother skills and now apply it to a group of 15 to 20 guys, right? And try to help them out the best way that I can. Um, so I really crafted how I engage other people and a community and build a community at Ball State. And I think that's where a good majority of those leadership skills kind of started blossoming. When I worked at Paradigm and when I was working, 70, 80 hours a week, that taught me another level of hardship that I hadn't learned before that point, right?
Mm.
And so it was another chance for me to really own my leadership skills. So that's kind of a tough question because the way that I see it is you should always be a leader in esports. You should try to, at least. And what that means is giving it your all, putting
Yes.
everything that you can into your work, letting it shape who you are, and then growing from those experiences.
Some people have trouble growing because they focus too much on the mistakes and the hangups and the fact that they know themselves they aren't in the position growth wise that they would like to be. How do you tell somebody, especially those who are in esports, how they can rise above that?
The beautiful part of it is esports is growing, right? And that's something that all of us know. So if you look on hitmarker.net, like today, there's over 10,000 job postings in esports, and the industry just keeps growing. So what I tell to people that are looking for that growth and maybe aren't seeing the dividends that they want to is to just keep pushing. Get involved in grassroots. The advice that I give people that was always given to me, my first esports tournament ever was the Smite launch tournament in Atlanta, Georgia in 2014. And I actually met a lot of the Smite pros at that event, including the owner of the company and CEO at the time, Todd Harris. And I had approached him and asked him, how do I get involved with esports? This event is mind blowing. This is such an awesome experience. What do I do to get in and how do I get involved? And he said, just do it. And I was like, what? That seems like such a cop out.
The
How would
Nike
he just tell me
slogan?
to
Come
do
on.
it? And it didn't really hit me until I started working at Paradigm. What he meant is we need more grassroots opportunities. We
Mm,
need more community driven and community led esports growth in order for the industry to really evolve into this culture and a massive phenomenon that's going to sweep all of the scholastic sports spaces like sports did in the 1920s and 30s. So um, what I would say to anyone that is so hung up on growth and they're not seeing the dividends they want to, they just want to keep growing, keep getting involved, keep doing things. There will be a point at which you will get noticed. I have a great friend here in the Midwest named Chillin' Walk, and he's a caster, he's a commentator, and through the work that he's done just at grassroots events, it's led him to now do casting for the RLCS and for Riot sanctioned events, for these massive tournaments in Collegiate. And he has his only experience with casting is what he gets himself involved with. And by messaging tournament directors and saying, hey, putting himself out there, I have experience in this. Please let me show you that I can have a quality cast for your event.
I kind of want to talk about your time as director for the Paradigm.
Yeah.
So it's a virtual reality training space, training arena.
Yeah, so it was a virtual reality training and gaming center essentially. So the CEO of the company owned a software development company called Victory VR that creates virtual reality software that is supposed to be used for training and for education purposes. So they have K through 12 education software on there for sciences that they're actually trying to roll out to schools. The biggest one being their frog dissection unit, which saves schools a lot of money on purchasing dead frogs every year to dissect, and it makes it easier for kids to get involved because now they can dissect and not feel bad about killing a frog or hurting a frog.
Right. Yeah.
And they do it in VR, so it's reusable, it's a low cost, and it really helps still get that point across on the anatomy of an animal. So we had that, for instance. But the whole point of Paradigm was to roll that software out in a physical space, while also having a space for entertainment and after hours. So really, the first half of the day, anywhere from that 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. mark, was meant for business and professional development, and then in the evenings around 4 p.m. to up around midnight was meant for entertainment.
Do you see the virtual reality esports industry becoming a big thing in the next 2 to 3 years?
Next 2 to 3 years, I don't think so.
Okay.
Probably, I would say, probably the next 5 to 10 years, it'll be a main staple. I think that with the accessibility of headsets and software on the headsets, as well as for wireless headsets, the internet requirements, the sort of online capabilities, if those were all to improve a little bit more, I think that we would see a drastic increase in the VR space. But as of right now, it's more seen as like a novelty item for a lot of households. And I think we have to get past that and make it a little bit more accessible for there to be a competitive space first.
Do you think a lot of that is not just due to technology, but the type of gameplay that's being implemented in these systems?
Yeah, and I think some games work really well. I think that other games that they try to market is competitive don't work as well. There's one game out there that I really enjoyed called Space Junkies VR, and that is sort of a VR shooter. There was a league for it that one we ran, and two an international league that was going on for it. But it's sort of a you're placed in like a sphere, and you can move around in 360 degrees and shoot in whatever direction, and it's 2v2, and so you're placed in like this gravity sphere with a bunch of like objects just floating around, and you're floating around within it trying to shoot your enemies. So that's really interesting. Obviously, there's a game that everyone knows, Beat Saber, is probably the most popular rhythm game on VR. I think that could have a competitive space, and I that's not to say that these games don't have competitive spaces, right? But main stage, esports events, I think that it'll take another little long while for the industry to grow before we see those on those main stages.
I got you, but I do think that is the future, in a sense. I do think, but I'm just wondering, is there an audience there for VR?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's definitely an audience there for VR. The VR audience is like I said, it's still seen right now as more of a novelty thing, but
Mhm.
if we can grow out of that, it'll grow even more. And is there an audience? I mean, we ran a Beat Saber League at Paradigm. It was just like Saturdays. It was a leaderboard league, anywhere from like 2 p.m. to like 6 p.m. Right,
Mhm.
and so you could come in. You got an hour of time, get the highest score that you can, and we had a running leaderboard out front. We got a lot of people to sign up for those, and that wasn't even like a 1v1 style tournament. It was just, here's leaderboard. Number one on the leaderboard will get a $50 gift card.
The interview for Tim Curdell for the Innovative magazine, you said,
Mhm.
what we are currently witnessing is the second golden age of sports.
Yeah.
Why is it the second golden age of sports?
When you think about esports, what we're currently going through with the esports industry is what we saw with the golden age of the sports industry, right? In the 1920s to 1940s, we saw a lot of schools start to develop sports as a viable alternative to keep kids involved with their academics as a pastime, and showing teamwork and showing how to group on a team, and the importance of working together towards a common goal, and self-betterment. I think all of those aspects that we saw with football, basketball, baseball, getting involved from community leagues to scholastic leagues, we're seeing that same transition now in 2021. And we've been seeing it. So I call it the second golden age of sports, because we're going to see esports sweep as a culture the same way that sports swept as a culture. It went from just a grassroots sort of fun thing that you do with your community members in the 1910s. 30, 40 years later, now we have multi-million-dollar leagues, and it's becoming a sanctioned and massive industry that's just growing. So I think we're going to see the same thing for esports. It's not that we're going to. I think we're already seeing the same thing for
Yeah,
esports with
yeah.
exponential growth in the colleges and high school spaces.
With the caveat that I would say that the audience, a lot of the audience is an active participator in sporting, in video game sports.
Mhm.
And so there, you got that need to want to learn from the best.
Yeah.
In that audience.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And it's a little bit easier to grow in this day and age. In the 1900s, we didn't have the technology that we do today. So there's so many more ways to get involved with esports than just playing, right? Like you said, you can watch, there's streamers, there's official matches. There's just so many caveats to kind of take in that information and grow.
And it's also married to a sense of entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
You could. This is something that you could play anywhere, anytime. It's not like back in the 1910s and 20s, as you say, people couldn't walk around with a football stadium in their pocket.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's a great point.
So it does kind of give power to the player.
Mm-hmm. It's very empowering for players to not just be able to play on their native console either. I get a lot of students that come into our program and have maybe only played on console, but now they have a whole new world open to them by being able to play on PC. Same going from like if you have an older mobile phone that can't handle playing games, that transitioning to playing on a console that can play games, or getting a better phone that can play better mobile games. Same kind of empowering transition.
Oh, one final question before we go. What have you learned as an esports director currently from the time you started to now?
Patience. No, I've learned a lot. Patience is included in there, but I've learned a lot as a coach and a director. I've mainly felt more like when I came into this role, I didn't feel as very confident as a coach, I guess is a good way to put it, because I'd never coached before in
Sure.
the traditional sense. So I play some of the games that we offer through our program. Some of the games I don't. Like I'm a Smite guy. I don't touch League of Legends all that often. But when I started breaking down those barriers for the games that I do and don't play, right? Because I play Overwatch, I can coach Overwatch. I play Apex, I can coach Apex. I don't play League, so I can't do that. But when I started breaking that away and saying, quit focusing on what you play and don't play, focus on how you can help your players, I began to really start shining through as a coach and really developing. So like, for instance, League of Legends. Sure, I don't play League, but I've watched enough League and I've played enough MOBAs where I can tell you died because you didn't have a ward there, or I can tell you died because you were out of position, or you died because you weren't looking at map, or you had bad items, etc. And I started to just get more confident in that role. So I think that the biggest thing that I've learned as a coach is one, confidence with the position, and two, patience and growing and building a community, because it does take a lot of work to recruit that kind of quality talent to your program, where they're not just good
Sure.
players, but they also are hungry and want to develop themselves as professionals.
And so they want to take that leap, and they want to take that leap with you.
Exactly. You got to have the buy-in.
Well, Chase, Nuclear Nukem, thank you so much. From one Chase to another, love talking to you, man.
Likewise, and thank you for having me.